Over to you, Mr. Sami.
Following up, people saying that can you give some ideas? Nobody, of course, responded to that except, of course, you. And so we have a couple of topics, and what we will do is we'll go through each one of them, get a point of view from each of the panel members that we have. My job is to kind of definitely is to quiz them a little further, try to get them on the line of thought that we want them to be on, and also be a little challenging at the same time, because otherwise there's no fun having a panel. So I hope everybody is fine with those set of rules. Fantastic. So let me just switch over to the slides, and we'll go through these one by one. All right, let me first begin with the first question. Since we're talking about creativity and we're talking about data, uh, let's start with Sridhar. I know Sridhar has lots of data sitting at Diageo. So Sridhar, how much data is enough data for really it to be creative enough for you?
Uh, Before I start, thanks, Prab. And before I start, how many of you know what Diageo is? Know what Diageo? Good. For the rest of you, we manufacture alcohol, right? Johnny Walker, Smirnoff, Tanqueray, Hendrix, McDowell's, Signature, Antiquity, etc., etc. The only data point we know is 750 ml, 375 ml, 180 ml. Khamba, Ova, right? And that's how we work out. Jokes apart, and how alcohol as an industry in India is media dark. You know that. We can't advertise. And therefore, it becomes absolutely critical for us to know who our consumer is. And therefore, all our efforts are towards getting how much data we can get about consumers' buying pattern, what's the occasion which the consumer is into, etc., so that we can use that data for our effective marketing campaigns. We can't show our products. Wish we could have shown our products. We can't do that. Market is regulated in the country. And therefore, it just becomes very, very critical for us to see not only the consumer's alcohol buying pattern, but the more broadly the life occasions which the consumer is into. That's the data point I'm insanely interested in, the life moments, because we strongly believe that nobody drinks alcohol to get high or to get drunk. People drink alcohol to have lively moments, to spend time together with family. And that's the kind of data point I'm very, very interested in. If we get the data, we know which brands to fit in there.
Interesting. I mean, what about moment when you just had a breakup?
Sorry?
What about the moment when you just had a breakup with your girlfriend or your boyfriend and you want to drink up?
There's no alcohol for sorrow moments. We want to participate in celebrating life, and that's the moment which we want to talk about. Now, and the shift which we want to talk is that we believe that demographic targeting is dead, is passé, and we believe in a concept called real time minus one. Therefore, my ability to reach the consumer before the actual purchase has happened is where we believe greater value will happen. Real time minus one, and it's a concept we picked up from astrophysics, where the thought of what killer asteroids is. There are asteroids which are circling around the orbit, and some of them have potential to hit the Earth. They wiped out dinosaurs 65 million years ago. And those are killer asteroids that are hanging. The closest one now is an asteroid called Bennu, which can strike, has a 1 in 63,000 chance it will hit the Earth. But the NASA predicts all these asteroids, and they change the orbit of the asteroid or completely destroy the asteroid. If that is possible, then I'm sure data is possible to figure out who my vodka consumer is, what's the occasion it is, which is not science.
Fantastic. I hope the Tesla in the orbit doesn't get hit by one of those asteroids. What's your view, Severin, on how much data is enough data?
Um, I think there are like two worlds. Like at DCMN, for the one that maybe do not know our company, we are an agency helping digital brands business grow. So I do believe there is enough data out there in the digital world. It's not new that there are data. The biggest challenge now is to make sure that we are using this data in the right way. So this is really something we really care about, especially being a German headquartered company. We really care also about privacy, and we are going to talk about that. So we really want to make sure that we are using the right data to target the right person with the right message and nothing more. So we really also believe in the fact that we should decrease the amount of advertisements we are pushing to end users to just offer exactly what they want. And also at the right moments is, so we are also looking into, thanks to our mobile DSP, we are looking also at what you call this moment minus one, looking into this intent and the behavior even before our users know they want to buy maybe a bottle of alcohol, that we are going to be able to track that and to offer them exactly this advertisement they need, because we know they are going to be maybe celebrating a birthday or a wedding anniversary, so we know they might be wanting to buy a bottle of champagne. So this is what our technology, for example, could offer, and this is what we really believe in. And on the other side, there is a digital world, but on the other side, there is this offline world where we are lacking data. So we don't really know how many people are really watching TV or watching this specific out of home or this billboard or this print advertisement. So it's not about how much data, it's about at that particular moment to be able, again, to generate data, to be able to use it also for the end user. So what we are capable of offering now, it's a tool called DC Analytics, which is going to enable companies like digital brands, like Uber, for example, to measure the impact of their offline campaigns. So if we take the case of a TV campaign, it's totally doable today to measure the impact of this TV campaign and to know exactly not just how many people view your spot, but also how many of them are going to be going on your website and are going to buy actually your product. So yes, sometimes there are too many datas, but we need to find a way to use it in the right way. And for some another part of the world, we don't have enough datas and we need to generate them. So yeah, it depends.
Still not enough. All right. What's your view, Sandeep?
Look at it. See, there is data, there is analytics, then there is actionable insights, and then there is an action which succeeds or fails. So, data about being more or less is dependent on your business. Say, for example, on Facebook, 300 million photographs are uploaded every day. So that kind of counts in big data. And you cannot make meaning out of it out of normal analytics. So you use visual big data analytics and you try to make some meaning out of it. And probably Mark changes some color of some icon in 6 months, basis that. Because Facebook releases products very slowly. I mean, generally you see Facebook is a very slow kind of company in terms of product release. I personally feel banking analytics, being a banker at one point in time, is comprehensive analytics because there's money leveraging there. I mean, there's no if that goes wrong, like it goes wrong like hell because you're raising money and then you're lending money and it's quite complicated. And all your insurance policies based on those actuarial calculations which are changing every day. So what I feel is that I see the problem not in data. I see the problem in interpreting the data. I feel the generic analytics people cannot analyze data properly. I'll give a very small example. There was a friend of mine who was into sort of analytics and business warehousing. And he showed me some data of a mall. And mall is like, this is the kids section, then the toy section, then the clothes section. I think I can do a lot of analysis of that data based upon my capability to analyze. But I think even an assistant manager over there will understand that data far better than I will. So I think there has to be a human expert who understands that business, gives better value to that data. In terms of having more and more data, it has to be meaningful in terms of creating an actionable insight, and then the decision has to fly. So, I'm working in a machine learning project. The point of machine learning is not very complicated. I mean, AI machine learning algos have been built since 2011, 2010. All those codes are available on GitHub and all. You don't have to actually write any of those codes. The idea is that you train machine learning. So how good is the training? That training is based on data. The first example of machine learning was when I think late 60s or early 60s, a computer engineer taught chess to a computer and it learned. So it's not about machine learning being able to do something magical. It requires a lot of data of training. So from a machine learning perspective, a lot of data means a lot of training and it is good. But from business perspective, I've seen a lot of time wastage on data and serious time wastage I've seen.
Thanks. So excited to be here, firstly. So the way we see it is that, the data belongs to the consumer, and we are stewards of that data. It's our responsibility to use it in the best interest of the consumer. And phrase that we use internally, that how do you reduce the cognitive load of using your service? Internally, we use it as how do you reduce the cognitive load of taking an Uber? But more generally, how can you reduce the cognitive load of using your product or service using data? I think what's exciting today is that when data originally started, a lot of it was around how can you engage with your customer more efficiently and more effectively. Almost all of it was rooted in advertising and messaging. I think the leap that a lot of digital companies have taken is that in the core product experience, how do you build data so that that becomes better? So, to your point of N minus one, how do you reduce the cognitive load of taking or using that service? And not only in terms of how do you present advertising just when the person is going to use it, but how do you actually improve the product usage experience by leveraging? And I think that is very, very exciting.
Indeed, very profound thoughts across the board. Moving on to the next topic, which is data versus privacy. It's a bit sensitive one. Keep in mind we have GDPR. It's been recently announced in Europe, very, very prominent.
May 25th.
May 25th it goes live, and it's making lives of a lot of people in the European Union a little difficult. We have IVT by Apple, which is of course blocking away a couple of things. And we have Aadhaar in India, which is also accessible in some shape or form. Given the fascination of having access to this data and having been in this space a little over 15 plus years now, I remember 10 years ago there was obsession in collecting email IDs, just to send out emailers. Then that obsession turned towards collecting phone numbers. Now the obsession is in collecting cookie IDs and ad IDs and device IDs for that matter. As well as, if given a chance, legitimately, if Aadhaar was out there to be bought, I think there were a lot of hands go up in the advocacy community saying, hey, I do want access to that data. And Aadhaar actually has a lot of privacy information attached to it. What services you sign up for, what gender you are, what demographic profile you sit into, what's the socioeconomic status, so on and so forth. So if we have access to that, and we heard from each one of you from, let's say you are more into the moments, you really want to bring the power of data, you are more in the machine learning, and for you it's more getting the product experience up. Where do you draw the line in actually this consumer behavior data or this consumer data? Let's forget behavior for the sake of behavior, for this particular argument, and say, if we really want to know something about a consumer, how far as practitioners we are willing to go to pick those data points? Are we going to be stuck or happy with just name and last name? Or do we want name, last name, email ID? Do we want name, last name, email ID, phone number, date of birth, driving license, PAN number, TAN number, Aadhaar number, cookie ID, ad ID? How far do we go? And what are your individual governing principles to draw these lines? Tough question. It's in the market. People talk about it. We have discussions over it. But I'm throwing it to the experts on this panel to get a view. Let me start with Uber first, because they have by far the best data to talk about, so to say.
Only lesser than Google. But so like I started, right? I think the data belongs to the consumer, and we are stewards of that data. The thing that we all should remember is that while our access to data is increasing, the population growth is only that much. So if you lose trust, you lose it once, there's not a second generation of people who are going to use it. So the first and most important thing is that if you are stewards of that data, you need to protect their interest, and that has to be greater than yours, because the lifetime value of customers is much higher than an email ID or a telephone or all the other data points that you use. So I think that's point number one. Point number two is that the signals that you get on usage, which is, say, for example, commerce, which moving from one page to the other, in Uber moving from one destination. I think that being used to improve the service level is good. That being shared is a no-no for anybody. And as long as you're using the data signals that the consumer is giving on your platform to make the experience on the platform better, I think that's good. The second you're using it for gains other than that, I think that's bad. And if in doubt, err on the side of the consumers because you are the stewards of their data.
In fact, if I can add in and step in with GDPR launching on May 25th, and the cost of non-compliance is heavy. I think it is 20 million pounds or 4% of global turnover. That's the kind of cost a company has to bear for data breaches and uh, invading on the privacy of the consumers. Now, Europe is launching on, so it is typically called the Dodd-Frank Act of Data, and it's going to be extremely severe. What it does to marketeers like us, it is, the way I look at it, it is not restrictions, but it is about responsibility. That as marketeers, as companies, we have to become far more responsible in the way we manage data, accumulate data, and the user completely has a know-how why we are collecting the data. What is the reason? What are we going to do about it? And that kind of transparency is required. At Diageo, globally, we set up a GDPR team so that we know exactly why we are collecting data and putting a compliance structure in place. So it is about not about restrictions, but about responsibility. And India is not going to be far behind with Aadhaar coming in, linking up to bank accounts, linking up to mobile. We're going to have, I think it's going to create the biggest ecosystem of data. And as a marketer, I'm thrilled that I can reach out to the consumer the way I want it. But as a consumer, I'm deeply scared. Every little movement is tracked, right? And Google, for example, they know exactly where I've parked my car, right? That
I
to
don't know.
me,
I, of course, don't know.
you know, and sometimes that gives me scary thoughts that every action of mine is now being tracked by somebody, right? And therefore, it just becomes critical for us to become far more responsible. And Uber is what Sanjay talked about, is we got to respect our consumers' privacy and ensure that we don't breach it to any extent. In fact, what we have started doing, wherever we collect the data, whether it's a mobile number or it's a preference for the category or the brand, we kind of clearly elicitate that by signing up to this, you're agreeing to receive marketing promotions or for research purpose, whatever the case may be, so it is highly user opted in before we reach out to the consumers.
Uh, Yeah, I think it's actually a very tough question because from business perspective, most of the businesses will say, hey, look, or anyone, even in your family, somebody say, hey, look, I'll be really responsible with this. And they are not responsible. Like people start their Facebook post by saying, I'm not against any religion, but, and you are against a religion. So my point is all those milky white background videos of Apple and big companies where they say, hey, look, we are responsible. From business perspective, they want as much data as possible. And they'll go to any lens. I don't know whether you remember the very early days of Facebook, where the beacon controversy happened. And Mark Zuckerberg apologized, and they were trying to track your travel plans and pushing the e-commerce ads. Gmail reads your email these days and sends some machine learning notes at the end as well. There are browsers which are absolutely safe, they can't track anything. If you don't use Google Maps, they don't know where your car is parked. Okay? And there are chat apps like Telegram and many others where you cannot be tracked. And being in the journalism side of things, we use it. A lot of times, as soon as a phone call happens, the other guy says, hello, call on WhatsApp. Because we assume our phones are tapped all the time. I mean, I didn't say it. So my point is, privacy is something which is in the hand of the consumer. Don't take the word of a corporate company. If you want privacy, you can have it. There are all the softwares available. But if you are saying, hello, Google or Facebook or any other company, or even, see, I've made 2 data management platforms. So I very well know what you read. So if you put out a post of Disha Patani's sexy photograph on Facebook, you don't like it, but you click it. Okay? If there is a rape story, you don't like it, but you can share it. So, we know the intent which is happening exactly. In the machine learning parlance, it is far, far more because we are able to capture that data and continuously feed you with something. Wherein Facebook logic was based on friends. Snapchat's logic is based on historical data. They've just designed the publisher feed separate from the user feed. So I think privacy is a tough one, very difficult to kind of manage. And then users are putting up their each and every move, and my wife is very very particular that we'll never put photograph of our kid on Facebook. She's 14, but we never put any photographs because she's absolutely crazy about it. So it depends on the user.
Yeah, it's a big topic. As I say, we are headquartered in Germany, so the country with the highest privacy regulations in the world, I guess. Huh? So we are already, of course, working towards those new regulations as we speak. For me and for our company, I think we are using really this moment as an opportunity. Yes, I do believe that saying that companies are going to be self-regulated from today to tomorrow, it's a lie. But I do believe that we should use really this as an opportunity to do things differently. And as I was saying previously, I really and truly believe about the fact that we should just ask our end users, do you want us to use data? And yes, if yes, which ones? Why? Because I do believe that the users is and should be aware of the fact that the data are not here to do something bad, but that we can use those data to provide them exactly what they need. Again, all the users, we all have needs. When I'm well targeted on Facebook, Instagram, and Google, and I receive a nice advertisement for a pair of shoes, I'm very happy sometimes to be targeted because I get to know new brands and to discover new products. Sometimes the targeting is just not done in the right way, where I'm getting pushed products where I'm like, okay, it's just a loss for the company itself and for me as a viewer. So I do believe in this moment that we should use those new regulations as an opportunity to decrease the amount of advertisements, but increase the quality to deliver exactly what the end user wants. So why can we not just ask them what it is that you want and just basically follow their wish? But because I'm sure people do still need and want advertisement, and I'm not going to say, I mean, everybody's not going to say we don't want advertisement anymore, because we need advertisement to discover new things, new brands, new products, new solutions to also improve our life. So yeah, sometimes I'm very happy to be targeted if it's well done. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, it's a pair of shoes for a man. Thank you very much, but you just lost like 50 rupees on me, sorry.
I'm going to hold on to this topic. I hope everybody is fine with it. And I like your, it's not restriction, responsibilities. It's what you were talking about, discoverability of new services, new brands. You, of course, have talked about technologies beyond Google and Facebook, which is, thank God, there are other people out there as well. And I think you definitely made a very strong point on how cognizant you are in using the data. Let me bring in the layer of generation in it. The consumer generation, which is seeing it for the first time, versus the generation which has grown up with it. So we are the generation which is kind of inventing these new technologies or new ways of life, or whether that's targeting advertising, Uber, maps, etc. There's a generation which is 10 years behind us, which is growing up with these devices, growing up with these services. I want to get your point of view of what is their view of privacy when using any of the internet-enabled services today. When they grow up, will they have the same concerns like your wife has, that I would not want to put a picture of my daughter on Facebook? For whatever reason, we respect the choices we make there. But the generation which is 10 years behind us, how will they view this when they're 10 years out using these technologies?
See, I think if you see Musically app and the Flipagram app, and they're not bothered at all. They're in the rooms, and if, God forbid, you've seen this app called Bigo Live, I mean, we'll be shocked what's happening in India. So in Bigo Live, what happens is that there are a lot of women streaming, and there's no nudity, but there's a lot of women streaming. It's a Singapore app, 50 million downloads, and there are a lot of men talking. So it's a live stream to live stream conversation. And if you want to give her a cake, you want to buy something from the Google Wallet, a cake, and she can get the fiat currency back on it. And I mean, so if you see Musically, I mean, amazing amount of people. I think where people are heading the next generation, if you see these 3-4 apps, they are not worried about privacy.
stab
Yeah,
at
of
that.
course, of course.
So we have a value saying, do the right thing, period. Right? So I think that governs how we take every decision. But to answer this question, any of your parents?
Parents, yeah. Parents.
So I have a 3-year-old. Her sense of security and her sense of what is right and what is wrong is going to get defined as she grows up, right? My role as a parent is to make sure she doesn't get into anything, doesn't do anything that's incorrect, which will affect her for a long period. So as stewards of data, for us, customers may have different bars, but as long as you hold the responsibility, transparency of doing the right thing, I think that's our responsibility. And different consumers may have different standards, have different interests. That's their prerogative. But as organization and as marketing professionals or business leaders, I think it's important for us to hold the highest standard on some of these things. And some of these things would just be non-negotiable because it's easy to act if some of these things are non-negotiable. It's very difficult to draw the line if they are negotiable. I think in some of these pieces, it's just better to have a clear line. It's not.
I can only answer it from a marketer stroke corporate point of view. When it is collaborating, my earlier point that we have to act as a consumers don't know what they are sharing on the web, where they have given access, what kind of access has been given. So it is up to us ultimately to kind of draw the line, act as responsible citizen. And if you're talking about the next generation, they clearly at the consumer level, they don't know what is data privacy, what should be done, how much should I do. They'll just see accept all the terms and conditions and they just click the button and they'll move on. Or whatever, or a Facebook login and access, they really don't care about. But it's up to us, how do we, and I think the line really gets drawn up.
No, I do really agree with your point. So nothing to add. It's exactly what I wanted to say. Responsibility.
I think I normally ask this question because we are a generation which is progressing with this. We have certain experiences from our non-technology background before technology came into play. And it's only now we're asking this question. But the generation which is growing by, yes, of course, we can control them to some extent by good parenting, good corporate responsibility to some extent. But there is no true answer as to what will privacy look like 10 years down the line.
The world is so much changing every 80. How do you, like he was talking about this app, which I was not even aware of, but when he told me, I'm pretty scared, the kind of things which is happening, right? And this world is rapidly going to, I think somewhere down the line, the water will settle.
One small thing which I want to say is that, we've got to be open to what's happening versus what we want people to do. At times, I feel a lot of times people say, look, this is the way it should be. I mean, let's see what is happening. And those billions of people, they are not listening to you. That's the way the trend is.
So consumer is king, and if something goes wrong, you are to be blamed. All right, let's in the interest of time, we've got about 11 more minutes to go through, and we have 3 questions to go down. Let's pick an important one, which is I think what you talked about, which is machine learning better than human learning? A lot of businesses are built on experience, on-ground learnings, real emotions, real psychological impact, real touch and feel of how the business looks like, right? And now we have this new machine learning avatar coming in, give me a couple of variables, and I can start to replicate decisioning for you rather quickly. In a world today where, as we've discussed in the last 3 points, data is accessible, is prevalent, to some extent well guarded, to some extent not well guarded. You want to use it. Now you want to use it. Your judgment is machine learning actually better than human learning, or it is yet to be proven? I don't want to come to a conclusion to this particular question at this point in time, because this topic is just kind of hitting off the line. So just want to get a point of view of, is machine learning really better than human learning where we stand today?
See, machine learning and AI have become this kind of a bastardized term, and everybody is in AI, every product is AI, everything is AI. It is not that complicated, and it is pretty simple. Machine learning will definitely be better. It is like the Deep Blue versus Gary Kasparov. That's the way machine learning is. And machine learning will be better in case of processing. But like Jack Ma is continuously saying, but in terms of emotions, in terms of softer skills, machine learning can never be as good as a human. He says that all the education to children should also happen in softer skills, because machine learning is going to take up jobs which are process oriented, where a computer can be trained. And that training is like, you put 20 photos, 10 photos of a person with different face angles, and after that, you can just type in Google, you'll find 3 4 tools, and you just try training yourself, and then put up another picture and see whether it comes out with the right name. So that's just training a software, and the software gets better and better at it. Human learning is far superior, because human learning has intuition, which machine learning will not have. Machine learning will make all the chess moves and see what all the chess moves are coming. Google has introduced this camera called Clips. So with the face recognition technology, I think Google has got some very good hardware out. So even the laptop is very beautiful. So that it kind of has created a lot of training, and I read it up in detail how the machine learning program at Google goes. And I think they've done a lot of hard work in seeing which of the poses which you'd like to have. So the camera works the entire day, and it kind of takes out those beautiful moments. Sometimes it may fail, sometimes it may pass, but you will identify the beautiful moment of your child immediately. You don't have to use machine learning for that. But definitely machine learning will take away the jobs which are process oriented. Rest of the jobs and intuition, no chance.
To me, it is not a either or condition. I think there is a greater value when both ML and HL combine together. Then I think that the value is 1 plus 1 is 7 rather than just 2. And as he was saying, for a machine learning to, let's say, see an image of a cat, it looks after 2 million data points, which before a machine can say it's a cat. But a 2-year-old girl can look at the picture and say it's a cat. It doesn't require any kind of other data points. And that's what human intelligence is all about. Now, I want to take an example of the Google car, which is the self-driving car, right? What is it? It is nothing but a set of algorithms, data points put together, wrapped around the body, and it's called a car. It is a completely machine learning driven, right? Waymo, right? Yeah, so it's completely machine. But imagine the car driving in India and the auto wala does this, right? And how does the machine interpret that? And that's where human intelligence comes in, right? And that's how cars get adapted to in-market situations. The second example is if, let's say, Dr. Shetty's heart operations, right? Machine learning with vast amount of data can tell us, okay, this is what needs to be done. But when the actual operation happens and doctor can have all amount of data feeds on the heart surgery, but whether the patient is in pain or not, it's only the doctor with human intelligence can interpret, right? So it is not an odd conditions. I don't think so ML will ever replace human intelligence. Survived billions of years. We survived the plague. We survived the world wars. We survived the industrial revolutions. We will survive machine learning too.
Well, I hope. Yeah, I know.
I can see a matrix believer here.
I do agree also, it's really about using both. It's not like machine or human learnings, it's about using machine learning for process, big data, where we suck, but using basically the human learning for the last decision, the last moment, based on our intuition. I really hope that we will keep growing and changing this world thanks to machine learning. I also do believe that thanks to machine learning, we might even be able to change, to improve our climate, to have an impact on people who do not have access to water or stuff like that. At the same time, I'm also really worried because who can say that machine learning cannot learn to make a difference between a dog and a kid on the street when your car is going to drive on that specific road? I do believe that the machine learning, thanks to virtual reality, is going more and more into the direction of being a copycat of a human. And I hope it's just going to remain a copycat because we will remain the original and we will remain better. If it's not the case, then that's going to be the end of our race and maybe the start of a new one. But I don't think we will be there to see that. And I really hope it's not going to happen. But again, there is a little bit of growing around. We don't know how far this machine learning will go and how far it will go thanks to us, the humans. Are we going to be smart enough to stop them or not? That's going to be the question.
Just to add that on, the biggest test for me is, you know, if the machine learning could interpret the difference between red label, whether it's a whiskey or a tea.
That's a good analogy. Anything from Uber?
So I think completely agree it should be and not or. I think the only point that I'll add to what's already got discussed is the difference between the machine learning and human learning piece is that who sets the moral compass? Right? To your point, what are we going to be using it for? Getting more personal data, using it in a better manner, talking about things like climate change or talking about things like violence. So I think the one thing that we will have control for at least some foreseeable future is what we put this to. Who does this serve? As long as the moral compass is right, things should be good. The thing that excites me most about machine learning, and if I extend it to AI, that in a world where there are a lot of constraints, the catapult effect that some of these things can have is very high. So problems that we find very, very difficult to solve today, machine and AI can solve for us. So if we put that vast amount of energy onto something that is really important, then we can.
Indeed, very insightful. I think all of you made very profound impression on me with your thoughts. I see Matrix and Terminator sitting pretty much next to each other. We have about 3 minutes, so we're happy to take on any question from the audience. I think these are difficult people to get hold of in the industry, so more than happy to take on questions from the audience.
My name is Desh. I head marketing for Nykaa.com. So, can I be a little brutal in my question? My expectation from the panel was that I would probably learn from Uber how the machines are predicting which route to take and how much should be the fare. And I probably would learn from Google that how you're transforming your learning from search into the Internet of Things and talking devices. So I feel that the panel went a little bit into the emotional space of data privacy versus what is moral, what is immoral. So it'll be great if we can spend, maybe if time permits, a few minutes to understand how your machines are driving such fabulous decisions for the customers. And I think that'll be a big value add for all of us.
So as for Google, I can definitely say that we have a session on AI tomorrow. So if you're sticking around till tomorrow, we are definitely covering that in detail. For Uber, I'm going to defer it to my fellow panelists.
So I don't think we can get into details of how, but when I was talking about customer experience, so the two things that are invaluable for a rider, if I talk about the customer being the rider in this case, is the ETA, the shorter wait times, and lower price. And our biggest quest on machine learning, our biggest quest on analytics is to keep reducing the ETA and keep reducing the fare. One of the big successes we saw in India was pool, and what we call match rate. How many people can you match without? The background to that is super complicated in terms of data and MI, but to your point, that is exactly where we invest a lot of our time in terms of solving. In terms of which is the best place to learn that tool in terms of what we do, probably I'll have to send you a link which you can share.
I have one small point. I think what's misunderstood heavily is software rules, the software algorithms, and machine learning. And software rules, machine learning are two different things. And how machine learning improves a certain thing, I don't think a human can actually when they can explain it. So it will be the same explanation for any process. So it's a tough thing out there. So a lot of what is happening right now is based on software rules. Software algo is like one-time software, which kind of says if this happens, this will happen, if this happens, this will happen. And that kind of gets better. But machine learning is self-learning. That is why it's called artificial intelligence. And it needs to be experienced, explained.
So we are running late. If it's okay, can we have the questions offline? Yeah?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a huge round of applause, please? And I'm going to request you to take all your questions offline. That'll be great. All right. With that, we are ready for our next